Now we will be discussing about the treatment of malaria. Treatment of malaria. Okay. Guidelines for the treatment of malaria varies according to the country. Okay. But here I am going to give a general outline of the management. How we can manage the malaria. This is taken from the Addison's 20th edition. Okay. For uncomplicated malaria, okay, first, for non-chloroquine sensitive strain of non-chloroquine sensitive strain of Plasmodium vivax, oval, malaria and falciparum. Okay, that means if chloroquine is sensitive in that area, then we can give chloroquine. Okay, chloroquine. Second, for radical treatment is given for Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium ovale, as they cause the relapses, and radical treatment is done with primaquine. Okay, the dose of the primaquine in the Southeast Asia and Oceania is 0.5 mg of base per kg curie, and that in the other areas is 0.25 mg per kg elsewhere. Okay, primaquine is contraindicated in pregnancy. We should remember the fact that the primaquine is contraindicated in pregnancy. So, if a pregnant woman acquires the infection with the Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium ovale, then how radical treatment is given? How radical treatment is done? So, if the pregnant woman acquires the infection with the Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium ovale, then suppressive chemoprophylaxis should be done. Okay, should be done until delivery. That means how suppressive chemoprophylaxis is done? It is done by chloroquine in those areas in which chloroquine is sensitive. But if chloroquine is resistant, then we give quinine, because both these drugs are safe in pregnancy. Okay. But after delivery, again we switch these drugs to primaquine for the radical care. Okay. Primaquine is also contraindicated in the severe G6PD deficiency patients. Okay, but it can be given in the mild G6PD deficient patient. Okay, it can be given in the mild G6PD deficient patient. Third is the treatment of Plasmodium falciparum. Okay, Plasmodium falciparum malaria. If in that area the Plasmodium falciparum is sensitive to the chloroquine, then we can give the chloroquine. Non-chloroquine sensitive strain of Plasmodium falciparum, we can give chloroquine. Okay, but if it is resistant to the chloroquine, then we give for Plasmodium falciparum, we have 5 combinations. that is artemisinin combined therapy. Okay, 5 combinations. We have 5 combinations of artemisinin which we can use. First is artesunate plus sulfadoxine or pyrimethamine, okay, or artesunate plus amodiaquine, or artemether lumefantrine. We have already discussed that the absorption of lumefantrine increases with the fatty food. Okay, so it is given with the fatty food. I have already discussed this fact in the video anti-malarial drugs. Or we can give artesunate plus mefloquine or dihydroartemisinin piperaquine. Okay, so we have 5 combinations for the Plasmodium falciparum malariae: artesunate plus sulfadoxine or pyrimethamine, artesunate plus amodiaquine, artesunate plus lumefantrine, or artesunate plus mefloquine or dihydroartemisinin piperaquine. Okay. Fourth is second line treatment. For second line treatment, we use artesunate or quinine, plus one of the following. Tetracycline, doxycycline, or clindamycin. So second line treatment therapy is artesunate or quinine plus one of the following: tetracycline, doxycycline, or clindamycin. Okay. For severe falciparum malaria, all of these are for the uncomplicated malaria. Okay, but if the falciparum malaria is severe, for severe falciparum malaria, we use artesunate, or if unavailable, artemether, or if artemether is also not available, then we use quinine dihydrochloride. Okay, or if none of the above is available, then we use quinidine. But we have already discussed in the anti-malaria drugs that the quinidine is more cardiotoxic than quinine, and for both of these we need ECG monitoring. Okay. So for the severe falciparum malaria, the best is artesunate. But if artesunate is not available, then we use artemether. If artemether is also not available, then we use quinine dihydrochloride. If quinine dihydrochloride is also not available, then finally we use quinidine. Now, I have already discussed that the treatment guidelines are different in the different endemic regions of the world. Now I would like to discuss some facts related to the treatment. Okay, for uncomplicated malaria, patients will be monitored for vomiting. Okay, and if the patient vomits, then for 1 hour we should monitor the for vomiting for 1 hour, and if the patient vomits, then we should repeat the dose. If there is fever, we should use paracetamol. Okay, and minor CNS reactions are also common. Okay, and if there is any doubt if there is any doubt, if there is any doubt on species of Plasmodium, then we should treat for Plasmodium falciparum. Because it is the most severe form. Okay. And if the level of parasitemia, does not fall, the level of parasitemia does not fall below 25% of the admission value, 25% of admission value in 72 hours. Okay. If the level of parasitemia does not fall below 25% of the admission value in 72 hours, or if the parasitemia has not cleared by 7 days, and adherence is assured, okay. That means if the level of parasitemia does not fall below 25% of admission value, or if the parasitemia has not cleared by 7 days and there is adherence to the treatment, then we should think of drug resistance. Drug resistance is likely, and the regimen should be changed. Okay. These are some of the points we should remember while treating the uncomplicated malaria. But for the severe malaria is a medical emergency. And it requires ICU admission. Okay. We have already discussed that for the severe malaria, most important treatment is with the artesunate. Artesunate is a drug of choice. Why artesunate is a drug of choice? Because it has been shown that with the artesunate treatment, the mortality rate decreases. With the artesunate treatment. Okay. Nearly 35% mortality rate is shown to decrease in Asia, whereas in Africa 22.5% of mortality rate has decreased with the use of artesunate for the treatment of severe malaria. So artesunate is better than artemether, artether, and it is also better than quinine and quinidine. Okay. Even the rectal formulation of artesunate have shown to decrease the mortality. In children. Okay. So in the rural areas or areas where there is no parenteral treatment is not available, then even if we use the rectal formulation of artesunate, it decreases the mortality in case of severe malaria. So artesunate is a drug of choice. For the artesunate does not require dose adjustment in renal and liver failure. Okay. So it does not require the dose adjustment in renal and liver failure. Okay. But if the artesunate is not available, then we use quinine or quinidine. Okay. But we have already discussed that the quinidine is more cardiotoxic than quinine. Okay. what is the level of quinine and quinidine that can be used for the so that they can be effective without causing any toxicity. The level is for quinine, it is for quinidine it is 3.5 to 8 mg per liter, and for quinine it is 8 to 15 mg per liter. Okay, mg per liter. If artesunate is not available, then we use artemether, quinine or quinidine. Okay, and if we use quinine, quinidine, artemether, if we use artemether, quinine and quinidine, then we should give the initial loading dose. Okay, initial loading dose should be given so that the therapeutic concentrations are reached. But both the quinine and quinidine can lead to the severe and dangerous hypotension. So they are not administered as bolus. Okay, this will be administered by rate controlled infusion only. Okay, and if it is if this rate control infusion is not possible, then the quinine must be given. Quinine can be given by deep IM injection into the anterior thigh. It is normally given by IV, but if the rate control infusion cannot be done, then it should be given by deep IM injection into the anterior thigh. And if the patient remains seriously ill, or in acute renal failure for greater than 2 days, okay, if the patient is seriously ill or there is acute renal failure for greater than 2 days, and we are using the quinine and quinidine, then it can lead to the toxic accumulation of quinine and quinidine. So what should be done? Quinine and quinidine. So the maintenance dose should be reduced. So the maintenance dose of quinine or quinidine should be reduced. Okay, maintenance dose of quinine or quinidine should be reduced by 30 to 50%. Okay, so maintenance in these cases, if we are treating with the quinine and quinidine and for greater than 2 days, then it can accumulate and lead to the toxic side effects. So for preventing this, we have to reduce the maintenance dose by 30 to 50%. Okay, and the convulsions can be maintained by IV or rectal benzodiazepines, managed by IV or rectal benzodiazepines. But if the ventilatory support is not available, in those settings, the full dose of phenobarbital should not be given. Why? Because if the ventilatory support is not available, then these drugs, phenobarbital, can itself lead to the respiratory arrest. Okay, so in those settings where full ventilatory support is not available, then the phenobarbital should not be given in the full dose. This is for the conscious patient. Okay, and if the patient is unconscious, then what should be done? For unconscious patient, blood glucose should be monitored. For unconscious patient also, blood glucose should be monitored every 4 to 6 hours, and blood glucose should be maintained at greater than 40 mg per dl. And if the blood glucose level is less than this, then it should be maintained by bolus of glucose. Okay, First is we should check for blood glucose. Second, we should check for parasite count and hematocrit. Parasite count and hematocrit. And it should be checked for 4 to 6 hours, 6 to 12 hours. It should be checked every 4 to 6 hours. It should be checked every 6 to 12 hours. And if the hematocrit drops by less than 20%, or there is the development of anemia, then the blood should be given. Whole blood is preferred, and whole blood is preferred. Okay, whole blood is preferred. But if a child presents with severe anemia, but child presents with severe anemia and acidotic breathing, then the immediate blood transfusion should be given. Third is we should check for renal function. Okay, we should check for renal function daily. Okay. Fourth is fluid management. Fluid management in the malaria is very difficult. Why it is difficult to manage the fluid in case of malaria? Because in case of the malaria, the overhydration can lead to pulmonary edema, and underhydration can lead to renal impairment. Because if there is overhydration, then it can lead to pulmonary edema. But if there is underhydration, then it can lead to renal impairment. So the fluid management in case of the malaria is very difficult, and we should also remember that the fluid boluses should not be given. In case of the malaria, because it can lead to the pulmonary edema. Mainly pulmonary edema, ARDS. It can lead to the pulmonary edema, ARDS. We have already discussed this fact in the pathophysiology. And fifth is the nasogastric feeding. Okay, nasogastric feeding. The nasogastric feeding should be delayed. Okay, as much as possible. Okay, and if the patient is not intubated, then we have to delay the nasogastric feeding as much as we can to prevent from the aspiration. Okay, aspiration pneumonia. So we can prevent from the aspiration pneumonia. And slowly the parenteral therapy should be changed to the oral therapy, and 3-day course of artemisinin combined therapy should be given. Okay. We have already discussed that the Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium knowledgei can also cause the severe disease, and the severe disease caused by both of these plasmodiums should be managed according to the guidelines of Falcipan. That means treatment for both severe form of vivax and knowledgei follows the same guideline as that of the Falciparum.